of course, some boring Marxist would have said that, oh, this is alienation. It is, but there is something to alienation. Okay, let me nonetheless go on so that nonetheless I slowly approach the end, which would be that now comes the truly problematic part, namely the following one. Our solution to this proximity of the neighbor, how to deal with it, is tolerance today. And if you permit me another quarter of an hour, only because this is now the fundamental part, I think this category should be problematized. The first thing to note, and I refer here in a friendly, but you will see later, polemical way, with the new book by Wendy Brown, Regulating Aversion or Adversity, I forgot, but it's a good book, although you see I have problems. Namely, the first question to ask here is a very naive question. Why do we today, it's a nice sign of times, why do we today formulate as a problem of tolerance phenomena which 30, 40, 50 years ago were not perceived as problems of tolerance? Let's say racism. I made a stupid, simple, primitive experiment. I downloaded from internet all the main texts of Martin Luther King, the great figure of course, anti-racism, and I put search like tolerance, intolerance, practically absent. I mean, he didn't perceive his struggle against racism as struggle for tolerance. It would have been for him ridiculous to claim, I want white people to tolerate blacks. It's ridiculous. In the same way, it would be ridiculous, I hope, for us to say, for a feminist to say men should tolerate more women. My God, I explode here. I would say anything you want. I'm ready to give equality to women, but not to tolerate them. Okay, but that's another story. But you got my point. Tolerance is, as Wendy Brown puts it very nicely, tolerance is always an ersatz for political failure. It's a depoliticized politics. What Martin Luther King's point was not tolerance or intolerance, but his problem was inequality, exploitation, injustice, whatever, which demand properly political solution, not intolerance. Intolerance or tolerance means, basically, to simplify it, we can't really do anything, so let's tolerate it. And now let's go a little bit further. Then Wendy Brown, convincingly, I think, develops the basic underlying operation. To cut a long story short, what she calls the culturalization of politics. Political differences, differences conditioned by political inequality, economic exploitation, and so on, are naturalized, neutralized into cultural differences, into different ways of life. For example, today, not exclusively, but predominantly, the problem of Mexican workers here is not, are they exploited status, is do we tolerate their way of life, blah, blah, blah. Politics is culturalized, which is why I think there is no opposition between Fukuyama and the guy whose name, that's nice signifying irony, signals in itself one of the main diseases today, Huntington's disease, Huntington, Clash of Civilizations. I don't think that Clash of Civilization is opposed to this end of history liberal utopia. I claim Clash of Civilizations as clash of cultures is precisely politics at the time of end of history, where, because allegedly properly economic, other problems are now today a fact of rational administration and so on. So the only source of conflicts, of true passionate political conflicts, is reduced to culture. Culture which is then in a way naturalized as something you cannot really change, so we should need to tolerate it. Or, as Huntington put it, it's even a nice formulation, that today, after the Cold War, the Iron Curtain of ideology has been replaced by the velvet curtain of culture. Now, what is problematic here? First, let me develop, if you just allow me this, the case for tolerance and then a critique of it.